This is Danny Flexen here for Seconds Out with our undercard preview for this Saturday's massive Sky box office event that sees, in the main event, Alexander Usyk defend his cruiserweight titles against Tony Bellew at the Manchester Arena. Incredible fight to look forward to, but it's not a one-match card. There's plenty on the supporting cast to catch our eye and to intrigue us. So let's start straight away with the chief support. It's a WBA final eliminator at lightweight. One of the participants has held that belt before, Anthony Crolla. Hard not to love Crolla, Manchester hero. Have a go hero as well. Who can forget a few years ago when he foiled a robbery that was happening at his neighbour's house and got a concrete slab over the head for his efforts. I'm sure he'd still do the same thing again, although maybe he'd think twice before doing so. Thankfully recovered fully before winning his world title, in fact. He's on a run of 2 victories since suffering back-to-back defeats to the great Jorge Linares. One of those wins was over Ricky Burns, so he's been fighting in decent company. Linares is in fact the only man to defeat Crolla in the last 6 years, so it just shows the level that we're talking about. Crolla has to be one of the most undervalued boxers in Britain, I would say. You know, former genuine Big Four belt world champion, only lost in recent times to a pound-for-pound contender in Linares. And probably doesn't get the credit he deserves. Opposing him on Saturday is the rugged, aggressive, powerful Indonesian, Daud Yordan. I'm not sure if I've pronounced that correctly, but I'm sure he won't hear this, so he won't mind. They're both 31 years old. They've got a similar level of experience, and Yordan has only ever lost to world-class fighters, so a bit of a similarity there. He's currently on a winning run of 8, and worryingly for Crolla, that includes beating an Argentinian in South America, in Uruguay. And in his last fight, he knocked out a touted Russian with a body shot in Russia. So he won't be at all worried about travelling into Crolla's Manchester stronghold looking to cause another upset, or at least to upset the fans. It's going to be an interesting combination of styles, something Crolla's alluded to in the pre-fight build-up. Crolla is also a very good body puncher like his opponent, but there's a bit more craft about his work. He comes forward behind a high guard, he moves his head, bit of upper body movement, looks to find those angles for his body shots, consistent jab, movement's consistent also. Yordan's a bit more straightforward, although packs the harder punch. Very aggressive, trying to add a few more strings to his bow as he's got older and got more advanced in his career. And it'll be interesting to see those styles mesh. Crolla tends to do well against the more aggressive types. It gives him the opportunities and the openings to get off his own offense. But he's by no means a massive favourite. It's going to be a tough and gruelling fight. Further down the bill, we've got a genuine 10-round crossroads battle between Ricky Burns and Scott Cardle. Although Scott Cardle is billed from England, he's got strong Scottish heritage. Burns is obviously a Scottish hero himself, so that adds a bit of spice to this one. Burns has said in the build-up, and it's hard to argue with him on this one, that the loser of this fight has nowhere to go. The former 3-weight champion not long ago lost to Crolla, so he'll be fighting to keep his career alive, and he'll want bigger fights going forward. Cardle's a former British champion who's lost 2 of his last 4, so he really needs to win too. I think we have to credit both fighters with taking the risk against each other first of all. Cardle actually lost his British lightweight title to Robbie Barrett on the same night that Ricky Burns lost his WBA Super lightweight championship to Julius Indongo in a unification battle. Burns lost to Crolla in his next fight, while Cardle was destroyed by the reigning British champion at the time, Lewis Ritson, just 2 fights later. Cardle employed a bit of a kamikaze strategy in that fight. Came out perhaps trying to catch Ritson cold. Ritson had been walking through people at that level, and Cardle tried to beat the fight out of him early on. It was a strategy that didn't work very well, as Ritson tucked up and then a round later finished the job. Cardle was unfortunately outgunned. Both Burns and Cardle are coming off a win now, although against undemanding opposition. Burns certainly has the edge in pro experience. He's had 50 fights to Cardle's 25. He's tall, he's rangy, he's strong, he likes to come forward, throw a lot of shots. Cardle's younger, fresher, awkward with his upper body movement. He likes to be quite slick and evasive, and he was definitely the better amateur, although amateurs were a long time ago for both of these guys. So it's going to be interesting to see who wins that, and sadly it does seem like the loser is going to have to rethink their career path, especially if it's Burns, who's not the youngest. He's not a spring chicken anymore, it's fair to say. Another great fight on the undercard, which is arguably a 50-50 clash at cruiserweight, following in the footsteps of recent competitive cruiserweight clashes in this country, like Chris Billam-Smith against Robin Dupree, Lawrence Okoli against both Isaac Chamberlain and then Matty Askin, Chamberlain himself against Luke Watkins, and soon we've got the Wadi Camacho rematch with Arfan Iqbal, which is another one to look forward to. This one pits Sale, which is near Manchester, of course, against Walworth in London. Richard Riakporhe, the Londoner, goes up against Sam Hyde of Sale, and they're both unbeaten. But Hyde's only faced 3 boxers with winning records in his 14 fights. And one of those winning record fighters caused him to draw. Whereas Riakporhe has faced no winning record fighters in 7 fights, although he has won them all 6 by knockout. He's a big puncher, Riakporhe. He's 6'5" tall. He's rangy. He's drawn some comparisons early in his career with Deontay Wilder, both the good and the bad. He packs a massive punch. He uses his range to a decent extent, but he's still quite raw, still quite limited, which should come as no surprise because he didn't turn pro until 26. He only first stepped into a boxing gym at the age of 19 after a bit of a wayward childhood, it's fair to say, especially in his teenage years. Hyde's a bit more traditional in the route he's come. He turned pro at 20, which is quite young, but he was a good amateur, won a couple of national titles. Both changed trainers not too long ago. Sam Hyde joining Joe Gallagher and his stable of champions, top domestic fighters. And then Riakporhe joining Mark Tibbs, another really well-respected trainer, especially with the work he's done recently with Dillian Whyte. So these guys have both had new starts recently. They're both exciting to watch. It's a really, really tough one to call, and I'm not about to make the mistake of picking anyone here. Happy to lose my own money. Do so on a regular basis. Don't want to lose all of yours. Further down the card, Argentinian opposition comes in, which is never a good sign. For heavyweight hero, I think I've used the word hero too much, but he's more of a cult hero. The Doncaster de la Hoya, Dave Allen, heavyweight, going up against Ariel Bracamonte. Never heard of him, I've got to say, before today. He's never fought outside Argentina before, and he's been KO'd in the past, so you've got to fancy Dave Allen to get the job done in that one. While 7-0 welterweight Josh Kelly, very exciting Adam Booth fighter, already Commonwealth champion, already has a fringe belt from one of the major governing bodies. He gets a marking time fight. He's back out in December, but he gets a marking time fight against Walter Fabian Castillo, another Argentine, another one who's making his first appearance outside his home nation. Predictable inside the distance defeat for this guy? I would say so. Kelly works with angles. He's very exciting to watch. Very slick, very skillful. I'd recommend you watch the whole card on Saturday because there's a lot of good stuff underneath the main event. So I hope you've enjoyed the undercard preview, but I'd like to know if you could leave your comments below. Just let us know which of the undercard fights you're most looking forward to and why. Be interesting to get your take on it. And thanks very much. We'll watch it with you on Saturday.